One of the reasons that this work is so important is because the reform movement that Achieving the Dream actually, I think, instituted, one of its hallmarks is using data for decision making, to guide decision making, to inform decision making. And colleges have been typically more interested in looking at enrollment and those sorts of things rather than taking the data on student outcomes to guide their decisions about what they should be doing to help more students succeed. So it's greatly rewarding to go into a college and have their minds expand and open to how valuable this data can be to them. One of my favorite sayings is one from Plato, which is the unexamined life is not worth living. And one I use with my colleges, unexamined data is not worth producing. You know, so I'm very much a supporter of using data for decision making. In all of those colleges, I would say, they began looking only at snapshot data, and they didn't realize the value of what they had. And yet I could see reams of paper and books on shelves and in offices of fact books and different studies that were done, and nobody was using them. So one of the colleges I worked with didn't even have a very good data collection process on its students. When they entered, they weren't collecting high school transcripts. They did not know where their students really were as far as whether they were college ready or not. They weren't doing enough testing of their students. They didn't have policy around that. They didn't require them to enroll in developmental ed even if they did take a test. All of that shaped up, and that college is now a leader college, which means that they have benchmarked data over a 3-year process, showed improvement, and they've met also the practice criteria of Achieving the Dreams model, the reform model. So that is really a college who started at ground level and really embraced the model. One of the things that we find that students find so intimidating is the fear of not knowing how to navigate the process. They don't understand what a syllabus is. They don't understand what credit hours are. They don't understand what it means to go to an orientation. They don't even understand the word orientation until someone helps them. So once colleges are aware of their students' challenges and how many of them are out the front door after 3 weeks of the first semester, they begin to say we need to meet the students early and orient them in a way that helps them understand how to navigate college, and familiarize them. And what we see is colleges develop both new student and family orientations, as well as sometimes there's online components for those who cannot be in attendance at the person-to-person or face-to-face orientation. We see success coaches in the beginning stages. We see advisors and required advising, intrusive, holistic, a lot of different terminologies about the different types of advising. But the first-year experience is really one of the fundamental, foundational things that colleges are finding are really contributing to students persisting and completing in their coursework and in their staying within college in their program. For some colleges, proxy scores are allowed. You know, they'll bring in a different test if it's within a certain time frame, and they don't require them to sit for the exam. The cutoff scores may be out of alignment with what is realistic in relationship to what the learning outcomes are in those courses. So colleges take the process management view of reviewing their process, their policy, and looking at the data to say where those students should be placed. Then requiring students not only to take the exam, if they either have very old test scores or are using proxy scores that are a lower level, require them to take the exam, and if they allow them to retake it, ask that they do some sort of interim measure before they retake it, which might mean study, do some online research, or review a work guide that's provided by the college, sit into a workshop that's provided by the college, use other resources, and then retake the exam. Because we find that students don't realize the importance of that one exam. And colleges are emphasizing up front that this means the difference between you taking a lot of courses, so take this seriously. you know, and they just want to get it over with kind of attitude. It doesn't really, they don't realize the importance of it. We're explaining. We find colleges are more often explaining the value of that exam for them to make them college ready, and not to say, this is what you don't know. This is to say, this is where we want to help you improve to be better prepared for college. And oftentimes that means that student being placed in developmental or remedial work will also enroll in what is called a college skills course or a student success course to help them understand what it means to be a college student. We have so many first-generation students now. Their families can't help them. They don't understand what it means to go to college, how to be a good student. If we allow students way too much time, they get frustrated and they walk away from the process. If they are developmentally challenged in 3 areas, there's the potential that they could have to take 9 or 12 courses, depending on the layers of remediation at each college and the level at which they place. That is an eon for young people, and even for people who are returning for retraining if they have to go through that process. So we realize we need to be more efficient in our colleges, and colleges are doing that. They're finding ways to diagnose the areas that are most deficient, so that a student doesn't have to take an entire course, but maybe a modular portion of that course. Math tends to be the most challenging topic for most of our students. If a student enters the college with only one area in remediation in need, it's generally math. So acceleration processes that say, for instance, the student would work only on the fraction module till they bring it up and retest to get to that point, have really helped accelerate it. Other measures to say some students work at different paces. If they can accelerate by midterm to the next level course, then they could possibly complete 2 of those courses in 1 term. And lots of placement testing done in the summer program so that students can have a bridge between high school and college that allows them to prepare. And they can do some summer workshops, boot camps, that allow them then to be more prepared when they sit for the exam, and often they do it right at the end of that boot camp. And the other process is to make sure that in the curriculum we encourage our students to not only start with their developmental math, but to continue all the way through so that they complete the college level math after completing the developmental. Otherwise they lose some of that skill base and they're not building on it over time. On the quantitative side, the one piece that would be nice, and some states have this, but not all and not many, is what happens to a student once he or she leaves the institution, provided he is able to complete a credential of some sort. For instance, is he in employment? Is he at the university? Knowing what sort of success stories are there and being able to track those outcomes. Those are inspiring stories for other students. To be able to say a student who was in this program finished in this amount of time and then went to the university and is now working at Lockheed Martin or is now working at another organization would be very helpful information for students, which would require a lot of national data. The second piece, qualitatively, is to get more information about what students would recommend should be improved. I don't think we're doing as good a job as we should on some of the qualitative side. We can capture currently enrolled students, we can capture with some graduation surveys some comments, but we need more qualitative about the specifics of what they would recommend colleges do and what they would recommend new students do to be successful students. I don't think there's anything more important in a society than having a well-educated populace. It's a passionate, firm, philosophical underpinning that I live by.
Thank you.